Here's my video presentation for my journal abstract. I did an epidictic dimension of symbolic violence in Disney's Beauty and the Beast, intergenerational lessons in romanticizing and tolerating intimate partner violence. Now, let's take a step back and kind of break down that title and the movie. Obviously, we all remember the first time we watched Disney's Beauty and the Beast and how cinematically awesome it was, between the colors, the love story of Bella and the Beast, everything between Gaston and his crew, and how just a good movie, a loving, warm movie that it was. Now, this article talks about the darker side, the more violent side. Now, in order to understand this, we have to remember when we watched this as kids, we didn't see things the way they might have really appeared. So, and I can almost guarantee you that when your parents watched this movie, it was they got different reactions than the reactions you got out of the movie. Now, before I get into that, first I'm going to show you some pictures of how they marketed the movie, obviously to the kids. And this is a poster of how they marketed it more to the adults in more magazines and books and newspaper ads. Alright, now the main point that she really hit on in this article, by the way, this article was written by Kathy M. Olson in the Journal of Quarterly Science, November 2013. So this is a fairly new article. And one of the biggest topics she hits on is that Bella becomes stricken with Stockholm Syndrome. Now, for those of you that don't know what Stockholm Syndrome is, it's where if you get kidnapped or you're held prisoner or anything like that, you end up falling in love with the person who put you there, or the person that's taking care of you in this, or even the kidnapper himself. That's who you fall into love with, because you feel that no matter what your situation is, he's the only person that loves you and takes care of you. Without him, you would die. So therefore, you kind of you have that love for him or her, depending on your situation. Hopefully, you're never in that situation. But this article really talks about that. Bella, when in the beginning of the movie, she starts about trying to go and find her father, and she basically is willing to give up all that just to fall in love with the Beast. But we have to remember, the Beast holds her captive in his castle. He starves her. He hardly gives her any food. He doesn't let her go out, or doesn't like her to go out. And she's a prisoner with him. No other human contact at all. That's why we have all the Mrs. Teapot, Chip, all the animate objects that were enchanted by the witch when she cursed him. Another big thing they talk about is finding true love by the time you're 21. Now, in today's society, that's kind of young. Back when this movie first was released, that was still young then. But and if you don't find true love by 21, you're gonna die. That's what is gonna happen to the Beast, or Prince Adam. That's what his human name was. One theory that they talk about a lot in this article is Walker's theory of violence. Understanding the coherent ideology, explaining on the approving community's behalf, and tolerating the violence and romance. So basically, his cycle, or his theory, is that there's a level of violence that is all right to pass or go through, only if you have that romance with it. So a lot of times in partnerships, it's all right if they're physically or mentally abusing you, as long as you still get that romance side. And we're not saying that's right, we're not saying that's wrong. It's just what his theory is. And another thing we're going to hit on is stock. No. Another thing they talked about with Stockholm Syndrome is that true love. Because in the movie, the only way she's going to break out of this curse is if the Beast finds a woman to say she is in love with him, but true love. Now, if Belle is suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, does she really have true love with him then? Or is it just the can't comprehend anything that's going on kind of love, where this is the only thing I have, so I better love it? She talks about that in here. So also, another problem she found with this movie was lying in relationships. Now, the Beast lies to her all the time between what he was doing or what he's doing in a wing or what he was like in his previous life. But that's not really acceptable in most relationships. I wouldn't want my partner lying to me, and I know for a fact they don't want me lying to them. She talks about there's that certain little white lie, but not as in complete lies about who you are as a person or why you're doing the things you do. Now, this was a really interesting article. It really made me think about the way I watch Beauty and the Beast and the way I watch many other films nowadays. I really like to sit back and watch films. So next time, I encourage you guys, when you're watching a movie, after you watch it, take a step back and look at it as a whole picture. What was it trying to say? What were the messages coming out of the movie?